Hello, and welcome to another episode of Education Everywhere with the Portland Symphony Orchestra. My name is Matt LaBerge, and I will be guiding you through today's KinderKonzert program, Beethoven, Inventor, and Storyteller. In this program, we are going to see and hear some incredible musicians from the Portland Symphony Orchestra, and they are going to play some music for you, composed by one of the greatest musical geniuses of all time, Ludwig van Beethoven. I wonder how many of you may have recognized that melody. Beethoven was the person who wrote it. You see, Beethoven was a composer. In the world of classical music, a composer is someone who hears music in their head and writes it down on paper so that musicians can read and perform it. We call that music a composition. Let's listen now to a composition composed by Beethoven. That piece of music, Opus 135, was just played for you by the Portland Symphony String Quintet, which is a group of 5 musicians who all play string instruments. Let's take a closer look at this instrument family. As you can see, the string instruments all look very similar in that they are the same shape. They are all made of wood, have a long, thin neck, and a larger, hollow body. Each instrument has 4 strings, usually made of steel or nylon, and they are stretched tightly up and down the length of the instrument, which is where the string family gets their name. Each musician also holds a bow in their hand, which is a long wooden stick with a ribbon of horsehair. And a musician uses this bow to push or pull across the strings, causing a vibration and creating sound. The Portland Symphony String Quintet has 2 violins, played by Sarah Atwood and Mark Paxson. The violins are the smallest of the string instruments. Because they are the smallest, the violins have the highest voices and therefore play the highest parts. Let's listen now to the violin played by Sarah Atwood. Slightly larger than the violin, the viola has a somewhat lower voice, allowing it to play lower notes with a warm, mellow sound. Let's listen to the viola, played by Russell Wilson. The cello is much larger than the violin or the viola, so large that it has to rest on the floor when you play it. Because of its size, it plays even lower than the viola, giving it a deep, rich voice. Let's listen to the cello, played by Dick Noyes. The bass is the biggest instrument of the string family, so big that you have to stand when you play it. Its great, large size means it also has the deepest voice by far, much deeper even than the cello. Because of this, the bass plays the lowest parts in the string quintet. Let's listen to the bass, played by Joe Holt. There you have it, 4 different instruments in the string family. Did you notice that the bass player, Joe, plucked the strings of his instrument? As we've seen, the string instruments all use a bow to make sound, but they can also use their fingers. When they use their fingers to pluck the strings, we call that technique pizzicato. Can you say that with me? Pizzicato. Good. Let's hear what it sounds like when the group plays pizzicato. The string family of instruments started to come about over 400 years ago in the early 16th century. However, the story of our good friend Beethoven starts a bit later. Born in Germany in the year 1770, Ludwig van Beethoven was surrounded by wonderful music from a very young age. His father was a musician and taught him how to play the piano. And as a young child, Beethoven was constantly surrounded by music. He loved the music of the great composer Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, who was just a bit older than him. This next piece, composed by Mozart, is a good example of the kind of music that young Ludwig listened to as a small child. Just like Mozart, Beethoven would grow up to become a great composer. However, he did not want to write music in the exact same way that Mozart did. You see, Beethoven was an inventor, and he invented his own musical language. For example, in his String Quartet No. 1, Beethoven creates little groups of notes as a kind of musical seed. He plants that seed in the music at the beginning, and over time helps it grow into a full piece of music by the end. Let's listen and see how this musical seed works in Beethoven's String Quartet No. 1. The seed grows in many different ways, creating different musical feelings. First, it grows into something sweet and pretty. Next, it grows into something a bit nervous. Then it grows into something proud and confident. Finally, it becomes cozy. Beethoven tells a whole musical story by changing the way each instrument plays the seed. Let's listen now to the entire piece of music and see if we can tell when someone is playing the seed and how it changes each time it is played. That piece, String Quartet Number 1, is just one of the many examples of the stories that Beethoven wrote in his lifetime. Many composers have told stories with their music, but what made Beethoven different is the way he told his stories. You see, Beethoven brought a unique depth of emotion into his music. He uses his music to describe all sorts of feelings and express them. For instance, in his Fifth Symphony, Beethoven creates another simple, small musical seed and helps it grow and develop into all sorts of different feelings. Let's listen to that musical seed now. Now, let's play that musical seed together with just our hands as instruments. I'll go first. 1, 2. Dun 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 da. Dun 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 da. Now try it with me. 1, 2. Dun 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 da. Dun 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 da. Good. Now Beethoven is famous for powerful, sometimes angry feelings in his music. Let's listen to the beginning and see if we can hear how the musical seed starts powerful, gets very quiet, and suddenly becomes very strong. Now listen again and count how many times you hear the musical seed. How many times did you hear the musical seed? I heard it 13 times. Now we are ready to listen to all of Beethoven's Symphony No. 5. If you'd like, you can try counting all the musical seeds, or you can just listen to the music and see how it makes you feel. How many times did you hear the musical seed? Believe it or not, Beethoven plants this seed in the music 45 times. Now there were many different feelings and emotions in that piece, so it makes me wonder what Beethoven might have been feeling when he composed it. One thing we do know that made Beethoven feel very frustrated was that during his life, he slowly lost his hearing. and he didn't have any way at the time to help him hear his music. This didn't stop him, however, as Beethoven was an inventor. Beethoven invented different ways to help himself hear his music. For instance, he would take his pianos and rest the belly of the piano on the ground so that he could feel the vibration from the instrument when he composed. Using these techniques, Beethoven composed some of his greatest compositions after becoming deaf, such as Symphony No. 7. Let's listen to this musical seed for Symphony No. 7 now. It starts very quietly with the low instruments. Now that we have our musical seed for Symphony No. 7, let's play it together. I'll go first, using my fingers as my instruments. Bum, 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 bum. Try it with me. It's very quiet. Bum, 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 bum. Good. Now, let's listen to the story in Beethoven's Symphony No. 7. And let's hear how this small musical seed grows. Even though Beethoven sometimes felt frustrated during his life, his music makes many people very happy. Our final piece, Symphony No. 9, is a perfect example of the joy that Beethoven continues to bring people all over the world. He composed this final symphony when he was completely deaf. But this made no difference, as it is considered one of the greatest pieces of music ever written. Thank you for joining us here today for our KinderKonzert program with the Portland Symphony Orchestra. We end our show with Symphony No. 9, and we hope this music brings you great joy.
This PSO String KinderKonzert is sponsored by Gorham Savings Bank. The PSO's education partner is IDEX Laboratories. This KinderKonzert was also made possible in part by the following sponsors.